Good morning. So I wanted to make a video because I have gotten a lot of questions, and I've worked with a lot of clients who have kind of asked me these things throughout my career. So you're thinking about buying a beach house, and what mistakes or what issues should you be aware of before you buy? So I'm going to give you 3 major issues, that can be issues to consider and think about before you buy a beach house. These are things that a lot of people overlook. A lot of people don't think that they're super important. But whenever I'm working with my clients, I think it is extremely important that they are informed, that there are no surprises, that whenever they buy their house or their property, they're happy with it, they don't have regrets. And unfortunately, what I've seen on the listing side is I've sold properties for people who did not know this information before they bought. They didn't, buy with me. So the number one thing that I get when people buy property here at the beach is they are shocked, they are upset, they're confused, any kind of just mind boggled about our insurance here. So on the beach, we have many different flood zones, and everywhere here is in a flood zone. We have different types of flood zones. For instance, flood zone X is probably the most widely understood. It just means that you're in a very low risk flood zone. You're still in a flood zone, so it's recommended that you have flood insurance, which is separate here from your homeowner's insurance. But X is probably the most common. And as you get closer to the water, they get a little bit different. Flood insurance is not required in an X flood zone, by the way. Maybe your insurance, and I'm not an insurance agent. I own properties in an X flood zone, and I don't have flood insurance on them. If you're sitting on top of a mountain, you probably don't need flood insurance, but if you're low and you see there's standing water around your house or whatever, you might want to consider it. Or if you're near the water. So the next flood zone that I would like to talk about is AE. AE is a little bit riskier. We live on the water. If you've seen my other videos, we live on a man-made canal. So we're right on the water. Whenever we get hurricanes, the rising water, and really where we are, it's not so much, I wouldn't think the damage really comes from roofs and things like that blowing off. I think it's from the rising water, where houses get flooded from, rising water versus, ripping off roofs and all that stuff. I'm sure there's other places where that's more prominent, but I feel like our roofers do a pretty good job. I mean, my roof's, got a billion screws in it that are this long, and, it's pretty well screwed in there. But like I said, the water on the canal could rise, and there's nothing you can do about that. You can't waterproof every little nook and cranny in your house, and it's gonna get in. So that's, I'd say, the number one thing is flood zone. Knowing the flood zone, because there are flood zones here that you can't even purchase if you're a certain type of buyer. For instance, there is a community here called Kelly Plantation. The majority of Kelly Plantation is in they call it a Cobra zone, which I thought was kind of cool. It's like a snake zone or something. But so Cobra, basically, it is an area that the government did not believe there should be development on because of a high chance of flooding, right? They're like, hey, shouldn't build here. You can, but we're not going to insure you. So you have to basically get, number one, if you're a VA buyer, if you're a veteran, I'm a veteran, so I use my VA loan to purchase my primary residence. if you're a veteran, you cannot get financing in a COBRA zone with a VA loan. Sometimes there's some workarounds, and I'm not a licensed insurance agent, I'm not a licensed lender, but a lot of times homeowners who have properties in those zones, in the COBRA zones, have a LOMA letter, which is essentially, I would describe it as it's an elevation certificate partnership. So you have an elevation certificate typically down and a LOMA letter, and together they can help you get a better insurance rate. But typically you have to get private insurance, which can be, so my flood insurance is about $1,300 a year, and I'm in an AE zone. If you're in a COBRA zone, it could be 4 times that, maybe 5. It's a lot. It's kind of jumping up there to like your homeowner's insurance. It's kind of crazy. So consider that, because if you do buy in a COBRA zone, any future buyer is going to be looking at that as a negative. You know, you might be in a great community, it might have all the amazing amenities, but if you can't get insurance on it, you know, that's kind of scary, right? So I would say the number one thing is probably flood zones and insurance. The second biggest mistake I see people make is they don't account for how much maintenance it takes to have a property at the beach. We have salt water here, it's in the air, you know, it's everywhere. And it corrodes like crazy. So anything outside, light fixtures, exterior, you know, anything stucco, stay away from it. Just don't even go near it. I've had a stucco house, it was a nightmare. Stick with hardy board, stick with brick. You know, those are great building materials for houses. And quite honestly, stucco has really gone away around us because it's a maintenance nightmare. It's super expensive to repair. I'm not talking $2,000 to $3,000. I'm talking $50,000. I've sold a house that required, the estimate was $50,000 to $80,000 in stucco repair, and the house was selling for $800,000. So 10% of the house value was in stucco repair estimate. So just stay away from it. Just don't even go near it. Other maintenance issues with houses by the beach. You know, things that sit outside are going to corrode a lot faster. Your gutters, your air conditioning units, your well pumps. We have well pumps here in Florida. A lot of people are like, what is a well? I don't even know what this is. It's crazy. So we have a well pump system where it's essentially, it's your sprinkler system, but they drill a well, they tap it, and it pulls, your pump pulls water from the ground, a couple 100 feet deep, and that's what you water your lawn with. It's free water. All you gotta do is pay for the power. So pretty sweet setup, but those do corrode and they go out, and you know, those are $1,000 here. You know, it's like everything's $1,000, right? So if you want more info on that, I've got a hack. I found an awesome pump on Amazon for a couple $100. Put it in myself. It's 2 pipes. Most handy people can do it. It's not a super difficult job. So, and then the third thing I would say, and this is kind of, it's super important, but you know, some people care about it, some people don't, are the rental restrictions and rental rules in certain neighborhoods. There is a major difference between Okaloosa County, which is Destin, Fort Walton Beach, that area, and Walton County. Because in Destin, you're in a city. In Walton County, 30A, Santa Rosa Beach, there's no city. It's all Walton County, which is pretty big. So the ordinances are different, the taxes are different, the rental restrictions are different in the county level, and then in the city level, you have different rules and regulations. And then you have neighborhood rules and regulations. And sometimes, in the case of like Sandestin, where you have a master HOA, which is Sandestin HOA, you might have a property within a neighborhood inside that Sandestin HOA. Let's say, what's a good one? I would say one of the best rental communities in Sandestin would probably be either the condo buildings on the beach, because people come here for the beach, they want to be close to the beach. And if you're talking houses, Laurel Grove is great. Let me see what else. The bungalows are awesome. They're little bungalow style houses, really cool, really, I would say different architecture style. It's kind of more like a cabin feel to it versus, a beach style property. But within those communities, you have rental restrictions such as how many people can stay at your house. How many, and a lot of times, what's the minimum nightly stay? Because on Airbnb, it's 3 nights. I mean, you can do 1 night if you wanted to. It doesn't really make sense to do 1 night, but 3 nights is usually the minimum that we do on our Airbnbs. And so within that, they could say, hey, look, you can't have more than 1 golf cart, or you have to register your golf cart with us, or your guests can't use the amenities. There's a lot of different rules and regulations. So what I do is when I talk to my client in my initial consultation, I figure out, okay, they want to buy a property on 30A. This is what their perfect property is. This is what their, budget is, things like that. And by the way, just get pre-approved. Just call a lender, even if you go to like Quicken, whatever, just get a pre-approval so you're not like worried about what you can afford and what you can't. Everybody doesn't want to talk about money, but I can't do my job if I don't know realistically what you're able to afford. Whether it's, I'm not showing you, because if you tell me you want champagne and diamonds, but you got a beer budget, I'm not going to be able to really help you that much. So know what your affordability is right up front, and understand that is going to help me. It's going to help you. It's going to help everybody in the transaction. Because at the end of the day, I want you to be comfortable with the fact that this property is a good investment for you, and that your property isn't going to be a hindrance on your family. So keep that in mind. That is a big, that's a big deal. It's a big deal. All right, so we talked a little bit about the big ones, the flood zone, insurance stuff. Talked about maintenance costs. We talked about the rental rules and restrictions. Everybody wants to get a beach house, and yet a lot of times they don't work with an agent who has experience around where to find or where to look for problems in the future. The sad thing is that most agents in this area, they just want to do a deal. The average agent in this area does 2 to 3 deals a year. That's the fact. I think nationwide, the average realtor does 5 deals, 4 deals a year, which is kind of crazy, because if you're really doing your job full time, I think at minimum, you should be able to do 2 to 3 deals every month. If you're keeping up with your clients, you're watching the market, you're informing people, you're giving them good information, it should be a very easy decision to find the agents who are full-time. By the way, if you want to read what my clients say about me, it's all online. You can look me up, Kurt Sprigler Reviews, and I've got Google, Zillow, Realtor.com, Facebook, business page. You can check them out if you want. And I pride myself on telling the truth and not having to be like, oh man, I know there's a better property. I know there's a better, this isn't probably the best property for these people, but I got to do a deal because I only do 3 of them a year and I got to feed my family. I don't want that in my mind. I want to be able to tell you exactly the property that fits your needs. And if it's not on the market, and we're looking and it's not on the market, I'm going to tell you not to buy anything right now. Because if you tell me what you want and it's not matching anything, I'm not pushing you into anything. I don't think that's the right thing to do as a real estate advisor. And I think that, one thing that I can offer that a lot of agents can't is experience with short-term rentals, long-term rentals, commercial property, vacant lots. We've done it all. And by we, I don't mean like my company, my family, whatever. I'm talking about my wife and I. My wife and I have short-term rentals. We have long-term rentals. We have commercial property, and we own vacant land that we're going to build on. So we know the process personally. If you're working with an agent and you're looking at investment properties and they don't own any investment properties and they've never owned any investment properties, you might be with the wrong agent. You need to work with somebody who's been there, who's done it, who knows where these issues are going to come up, who has the contacts. It's another big thing. Let's say you live in Atlanta or Nashville, wherever, and you have an issue down here. What do you do? Who do you call? A lot of people manage their own properties. Problem is that if something goes wrong or a guest is in your property and it's high season and they're paying $1,500 a night and a hot water heater goes out, what do you do? Or there's a toilet that's loose, or little stuff, maintenance stuff. I've got all those contacts. In 15 years I've been here, and the endless amount of headaches I've gotten from having issues, I can pass all that. You don't have to have the headaches. I already had them for you. I can pass information to my clients, specifically to my clients and only my clients, for the best in town. The people that show up. And if you've been to 30A, if you own on 30A in Santa Rosa Beach, you own real estate, you probably know the contractors down here are pretty bad. Pretty bad. Because it's just I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's a crazy thing that people at the beach, they want it done as fast as possible because it's costing them revenue if it sits. So they want it done. They want to slap it up. Everybody dogs D.R. Horton for their quality and stuff like this. I've seen houses that are worse than D.R. Horton down here. Things just aren't square. The basics of building, make it square, make it solid, it blows my mind. But anyways, I can help you with those contacts. So if you don't want to make these mistakes, if you want to work with an agent, and I'm not talking, the average house on 30A is about, okay, so if you look it up on Zillow, it's going to tell you about 800,000. No, that's like, I would say the very high of the low end. I would say if you're looking for a house on 30A, you need to have a budget of about $1.5 million. That's probably the entry point. My wife sold a house last year for $10 million. We have houses going up to $22 million. We've had some $25 million. We've got some big, expensive properties here. So you need to be working with an agent at a high level who you can trust, who's not just going to push you into a house to get a paycheck. It's the worst thing you can do. And that's why my clients use me repeatedly, is because, and they call me. 90% of our phone calls aren't about business. It's, hey, I need a painter, a roofer. I need this, I need that. Can you coordinate that? Can you help me out with somebody? Can you, go over to the house and check on it? You'd be shocked. Okay, so probably 3 years ago, I was working with some clients, and this is just something I do because it just makes sense in my brain. If there's a major storm, if there's a hurricane, everybody's busy, everybody's doing stuff, but I send a message to my clients and I say, hey, look, in case you didn't know, some people don't, they don't watch the news and all that stuff. There's a major hurricane coming here. Do I need to go to your property and pull in some patio furniture, strap some stuff down, take down your plants, whatever it is? We're talking 20, 30 minutes worth of work, And And so this patio furniture is like, I don't know if you bought patio furniture lately, but my wife wants me to buy polywood. That's expensive stuff, so you don't want it to break. And that's just something that we do as members of the community. We look out for our clients who are now members of the community and try to help them out, you know, because they're not here. They're worried about their own problems and their own families and their own stuff going on wherever they live. So we try to take a little bit off that plate so they can, you know, feel comfortable that the property's going to be okay, their stuff's going to be okay, and their investment's going to be good. So if you have any questions about this, by the way, I mean, there's a million things you really need to consider when when buying a property down here, but I'd say those are the three biggest that I see. But if you have questions, leave them in the comments. You know, if you want more information like this, if you thought it was helpful, consider subscribing. You know, I'd love to help more people. I think this place is amazing. I really do. I would not raise my kids here if I didn't. And I have a choice. I'm very blessed to be able to live pretty much wherever I want to live. And I choose here. I choose here because it is amazing. The people are amazing. Our friends are amazing. Our schools are amazing. I love everything about this place. And I wouldn't live anywhere else. I'll travel, but I wouldn't live. So, but thank you for checking out this video. I appreciate you taking 20 minutes out of your day to learn about maybe some things that could save you a lot of money, a lot of headaches. And I'll keep making videos. You guys tell me what is helpful. You know, if you're moving to the beach, if you're considering it, and you're like, you know, I'm curious about this. What about that? You know, like, what about, I get questions all the time about pools. You know, I mean, pools that's a whole different ball game. But anyways, leave me a comment. Thanks for checking it out. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.